see these structures coming right off of the kidneys. Those are the ureters coming down this way, and then here's your urinary bladder on the bottom right here. You can see the urinary bladder. I'm going to take the urinary bladder out. What's good for you to know in particular, this particular model represents a male and a female anatomy. So you have testicular arteries and you have ovarian arteries. So they just call them the gonadal arteries. But here on this bladder, you've got an opening here on the front of the bladder. This is your external urethral orifice here. That's the pee hole for the guy. That comes forward. However, if you look down in the model here, that's the female anatomy where the bladder empties in the downward position. So that's the female's particular anatomy. So just please note that this particular bladder has both female and male features on it.
You gotta get this. My car's not working. I got you.
What is important here on the bladder is the surrounding of the bladder here is the adventitia. That's the surrounding layer. Let me just make sure I said that's right. Is that it? Yeah, it's the adventitia. So the adventitia or the peritoneum surrounds the bladder. You see this muscle layer that I'm pointing to around here, that is called the detrusor muscle. So if he points to the middle here, you're going to write the word detrusor muscle. The detrusor is what contracts when you really have to pee really badly. The detrusor, once it gets stretched, will start to reflexively contract, and that's when you have that urge to pee. That's the detrusor muscle. The lining, if you all see the folds there, like the stomach, it's called rugae. Again, the bladder has folds. I believe those are also called rugae as well. Yep. So the folds inside, the name of the folds inside the bladder are called the rugae. But if he asks you what kind of tissue lines the surface of the bladder, that is the transitional epithelium. As you learned back in Anatomy 141, that is the layer, the first layer that you find there at the edge of the bladder. It's made up of transitional epithelium because it stretches. So a couple of questions he could ask you. The folds are called the rugae. If he asks you what kind of tissue you find there, you're going to write down transitional epithelium. The last thing I want to show you is this triangular shaped area that the pointer is on here. That triangular shaped area is called the trigone. You wrote that down on your list. That's the trigone. See that triangular shaped area? That's called the trigone. So he'll put a pointer down there. And the trigone is a special area, one that when it gets stretched out from the fluid in your body, the trigone sends a signal to your brain that you need to pee. If it's convenient for you to pee at that time, then you will go ahead and empty your bladder. However, if you contract your external urethral sphincters will cause that reflex to relax, and then your bladder will start filling up again. And then it will keep filling up until you have to really, really go, and that's when the bladder is fully stretched. So the trigone is that first reflex that you need to pee and empty out your bladder. Any questions on that? Those are the major features that you're going to learn on the external part of the kidney. Second list, we're going to go on the gross anatomy of the kidney. So we're going to go past everything that you see on the top. We're going to start on the word capsule, or renal capsule. You can put the word renal, instead of just putting capsule, renal capsule. This is the model of the kidney, one of the main models you have to study. Or you will study something like this, which has the big kidney and the microscopic kidney, and then Bowman's capsule here, or the glomerular capsule. So these are the two major models that you need to study. There's a couple more like this as well. Let's pass these around. First thing on the list is the renal capsule. The capsule is basically the outer covering of your kidney. That's the outer layer here, the dark red. Renal cortex. Cortex always is the edge, so if you see right along the edge of the kidney, this is all the renal cortex, right on the very edge of the kidney. All of this. The renal or the medulla is everything in the center of the kidney. So everything here in the center is considered the medulla of the kidney, all of the center part. Cortex and medulla. The next word is the pyramids. The pyramids are these triangular shaped structures here, here, and here. They're within the medulla. Those are the pyramids of the kidney. Is the next word papilla? So, at the point of every pyramid, there's a little triangular tip area right here. So, the very edge of the pyramid, the point of the pyramid, is called the papilla. Should I put papilla on that here? Papilla?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So, the very edge of the pyramid is the papilla. What's next? Minor, major calyx?
Renal columns.
Oh, the columns, okay. The columns is basically, if you can see in between each pyramid, it's where the cortex dives in between the pyramids. So that is that area right there. Columns is that white or light colored area in between the pyramids. Those are the renal columns. All right, I'm going to now move to these models here. Continue on again for review. The edge of the outer covering is the capsule. The edge of the kidney is the cortex. The center of the kidney is the medulla. These triangular shaped structures are called the pyramids. The point of the pyramid is called a papilla. The stuff diving in between the pyramids are called the renal columns. Those are those when the cortex dives in between the two pyramids. Now, if we look at the pyramids, at the papilla, you're going to notice the papilla empties out into this, what looks like a opening or a goblet glass or a martini glass. That is your, this is considered your minor calyx. That's the first opening, right at the point of the pyramid. That is called a minor calyx. See that minor calyx? It's basically
Just the flat part?
it's that this opening right here.
Oh, okay.
That's a minor calyx. Now, if you go one level down, where these two, you can see here's two minor calyxes here, where they empty out right here, where those two come together, that's considered a major calyx, right here. That's where the pointer is. There's kind of a circular thing right there. You don't see that. That's the major calyx, where the two minor calyxes come together. That is now called a major calyx. So if you all can see here, here's a minor calyx here. There's a minor calyx here. But the two have formed together right here. They formed a major calyx. Right there. Once you get past the major calyx, when we're down here into the largest part of this kidney, at the base of the kidney, that, or the center of the kidney, that is now called the renal pelvis. So the calyxes all dump into where my pointer would be. That would be considered the renal pelvis. Just a lot further down. So on this model, the pelvis would just be basically down here.
And where's it on the flap model? Or is it on the one?
What's that?
Where's it on that one?
calyx, minor calyx, when they come together, that's a major calyx, and then down here is renal pelvis.
So what about that on the white number 10? Would that be considered it too?
Where's the number 10?
Right underneath.
The big white.
White.
The big white.
This thing?
At the bottom, underneath the kidney.
Oh,
Right
no,
there.
this is your ureter.
Okay.
Here's your pelvis dumping, that's now going out to go to your
So
bladder.
it's just the top white right there.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
inside the kidney. The pelvis is in the kidney. Once it leaves the kidney, it's now your ureter. That's the tube going out of your kidney.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Now we're on the arteries. Okay, now we're going to go to the major arteries here. Just for a point for you all to understand conceptually what we're tracing here. There's one way to get into the kidney. You're going to get into the kidney via this renal artery. All the blood flows through the renal artery. What's the purpose of the kidney? What does it do to your blood?
Filter.
Filters it, cleanses it, and gets rid of all the waste. And what leaves the body is urine. What comes out of the body would be your filtered blood. So you've got a couple of ways of getting in the kidney, or one way to get in the kidney. That's going to be the renal artery. There's two ways that you can get out. Either you're going to come out of the ureter here. Either you're going to go out of the body through the ureter via this thing, which will be your renal vein back to the heart. So there's one way in, two ways out. The first artery right here that I'm pointing to is the renal artery. After that, it's going to branch right here. That first branching that you find is called a segmental artery. The first branch off the renal artery is a segmental artery. And vein, of course, there's a vein as well. Once these branch, now you've got arteries and veins that are going in between the columns or in between the pyramids. Those are called your interlobar arteries and veins. Those are the ones going in between the pyramids via the columns. That's this one right here. So we've got renal artery, segmental artery, and then we have your interlobar arteries and veins. They're in between the pyramids. Now, after that, they start to arc across the pyramids. That's why they call it the arcuate artery. On top of there, that's called the arcuate arteries and veins right here. And the last of them, as you can see, are these lines right here, all within the cortex. Those are called your cortical radiate arteries here. They're radiating in the cortex. Those are called the cortical radiate arteries.
And veins?
What's that?
There's veins too.
Arteries and veins, yeah, so it depends on, there's blue, you'll see some blue in there, so if you ask for blue, you're looking for veins. Okay, so again, renal artery, segmental artery, interlobar arteries and veins, arcuate arteries and veins, and the cortical radiate arteries and veins. So we're starting to form urine. It's going to come in through here, and it's going to get filtered until it gets into the cortex. It goes all the way to the edge of the cortex, and then it goes back through the kidney and out of the kidney. Now, from the cortical radiate artery, you'll see these long things right here. We have these little things sticking out, these little branches at the end. Those are now called your afferent arterioles. So we're going to magnify that, and we're going to look at it right over here. You can see it again. This is the middle section now because it's gotten too small over here. We're over here. Here's your cortical radiate artery and vein coming up the cortex here. Right here. And then there's a little branch coming off here. That is my afferent arteriole. And it's dumping into this red blob right here. It's now called the glomerulus. Is that on my list? Yes. It's on my big list. So, afferent arteriole, that's dumping into the glomerulus here. Now it's gotten too small, so we're going to go over here. It's even bigger. Here's my afferent arteriole right here, coming in. It dumps into this thing, which is called the glomerulus. This is now going to start filtering out of the kidney to become urine. This is the glomerulus here.
Afferent on that.
This is the afferent arteriole right here.